this video, we will be discussing the first part of Wasteland, which is the burial of the dead. Before moving into the video, make sure that you have watched the introduction to Wasteland. In this video, we will be discussing the first part of Wasteland, which is the burial of the dead. Now, the title The Burial of the Dead comes from the burial services of the Anglican Church. This part, the first part of Wasteland itself, presents the central concern of the poem. That is, in Wasteland, there is no scope for rebirth. We stress on the idea of death throughout these lines, and we come across themes such as barrenness, hopelessness, death, and so on. The very first line of this part is, April is the cruelest month. Now, Chaucer, in his prologue to the Canterbury Tales, has described April to be the happiest month of the year. But here, Eliot prefers to mention April as the cruelest month because since April is supposed to be the month of rebirth, and since the people of Wasteland do not hope for a rebirth in Wasteland, April becomes a cruel mockery to them. In modern Wasteland, there is no renewal of life. The land is barren and spring is painful. Look at the next line. Winter kept us warm. It seems as if the people of the Wasteland prefer winter. They do not want to respond to life. What is happening in the poem is the first 4 lines of the poem, from here to here. These lines show the possibility of growth and renewal, and these 4 lines are combined with the remaining lines starting from here, from winter kept us warm. From here we find that these lines show fear and reluctance in these people. They prefer forgetfulness and stagnation in life. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. These first lines of the poem shows that how the wasteland has remained barren, the same way people living a life in wasteland, they are living a life of spiritual sterility. They prefer to sleep through the winter instead of believing in something. In the next part of the poem, we are given a memory of another spring. Here, the poem shifts into a light tone unlike the earlier lines. In this memory, the poet was walking with a Lithuanian girl, and then suddenly they are surprised by a sudden shower of rain. So they took shelter in a colonnade where there are a lot of trees. And after the rain, when the sunshine came, they went to the park, drank coffee, they had a chat. Here is a line in German. The girl tells him that I am not Russian at all. I come from Lithuania. I am a true German. So they are having a very light chat. The poem shifts to a light tone suddenly, all of a sudden, and we get an idea about a glimpse of the cosmopolitan culture where there is light chatter and travel and sports. All of these are not part of life for the inhabitants of Wasteland who live in an atmosphere of tension. They would rather stay at home in winter. They would prefer winter over spring. From there, we see another childhood memory of the girl named Mary. Now, she says that she and her cousin had been spending their vacation at the Archduke's place and they had a ride on the sledge. Her life seemed to be reduced to the pursuit of comfort. Even at the last 2 lines, we find that she felt free in the mountains. I read much of the night and go south in winter. It's as if the problems of the wasteland doesn't affect her at all, even though she is one of those people of the educated class. We understand that she reads. So she is one of those educated people who doesn't care to bring a change. The next stanza of Wasteland again brings an idea of terror. There is no more the earlier light tone. Again we have a contrasting tone here and references from the Bible, mainly that of Old Testament. Here we have a reference from the Bible which is of Ezekiel's vision. The vision is that There was a valley of dry bones of dead. Ezekiel was shown this vision by God. So, just how these bones can't live, we are spiritually dead. Here again, the idea of mortality is stressed. Lines like, "What are the dull roots to be stirred by rain?" He asked this because nothing can grow in a land devoid of spirituality. The words such as stone, rock, barren, all this show lack of fertility. The phrase "Son of Man" was used by Ezekiel to show his sense of insignificance in the presence of God. When God showed him the valley of dead bones, Ezekiel showed his humility by saying, "I am the Son of Man." Eliot uses this phrase to point out importance of humility. The most difficult Christian virtue is humility, and to show the need of dependence on God, without which world would become a wasteland. After showing a lot of images of barrenness, finally the poet asks the people of the wasteland to come in under the shadow of this red rock. Here the red rock is a symbol of church. The poet is inviting the people of wasteland to accept their true Christian message. Just after that, the narrator says, "I will show you something different from either your shadow at morning striding behind you or your shadow at evening rising to meet you." This shadow represents mortality of man. The shadow that strides behind the man in the morning represents youth. And the shadow at evening represents old age, when mortality is more closer to man. And then the poet again repeats the idea of mortality, where he says, "I will show you fear in a handful of dust." Here we are again reminded by the narrator that by the end we are only a handful of dust. This is the fear that haunts man from cradle to the grave. Man is only a handful of dust. So the idea of mortality is again emphasized here in these lines. So throughout this stanza we find that first we are given a vision of barrenness, but then by the middle of the stanza we are given hope by the narrator. The narrator says, if you are ready to come under the shadow of church, under the shadow of this red rock, then there is a chance that you might escape. But then finally again we are still reminded about the mortality and the ultimate truth of life. Till now we were discussing about the barrenness in the people of wasteland, their absence of spirituality. Now Eliot moves on into another theme, which is even love cannot exist in wasteland. Eliot illustrates these through two love episodes. The first few lines, the first episode is from a musical opera, Tristan and Isolde by Richard Wagner. This is a tragic story, a romance in which the result was very tragic. It's a love story between the knight Tristan and the Irish princess Isolde. Now what happens is, Tristan is wounded and the only person who can heal Tristan is Isolde, but there was some misunderstandings and Isolde couldn't come. So Tristan dies of grief. So the end of this relationship was despair and disappointment. So that was the first episode that Eliot presents. The next episode that Eliot talks about is also called the Hyacinth Garden episode. The hyacinth is a flower which is a symbol of youthful love. The flower itself is sensuous, both in scent and appearance. Now in the beginning of these lines, we find that this girl had received hyacinth flowers from this man a year ago. She says, "You gave me hyacinth first a year ago. They called me the hyacinth girl." But then what happened is, one day when they came out of the garden, the lover had lost his speech and sight. He was neither living nor dead. He suddenly realizes the emptiness and futility of his love. So soon we find that the young girl is being forgotten by the lover, and a fulfillment which was possible was being prevented. So that was our second love episode that Eliot used to illustrate his point. And after that, before he ends, he uses a line again in German. This line is again from the opera that we discussed first, from Tristan and Isolde. These lines in italics and also the lines that we discussed before. These are sung by a sailor in the opera where he is looking for Isolde. In the next stanza, we meet a prophetic figure, Madame Sosostris. She is an ironic version of a prophetic figure. This woman has tarot cards with her and she uses these cards to make prophecies. Now, tarot cards were part of fertility rites in ancient Egypt. The Egyptian prophets used to predict the rise and fall of water in River Nile. So she is also using these cards to make prophecies. But her tone is satiric. Still, this stanza has serious significance in the poem. One by one, she starts to pick up her cards. Now, it seems that she is not aware of the significance of each card that she picks. The very first card that we see is that of the drowned Phoenician sailor. Now, this could be a symbol of the fertility god whose image was drowned in the sea and which would be later recovered by the onset of spring season. It could also be a warning against death by water. We have a part of Wasteland which is titled as Death by Water, so it could also be indicating that. Just below this card, after Phoenician sailor, is a line from Shakespeare's Tempest. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Look. These are the lines said by Ariel to Ferdinand that his father, King Alonso, has transformed, changed into a better person after drowning. So these lines represent rebirth. And then she picks up another card from her tarot pack, which is Belladonna. Now, this is a card which is actually not present in the tarot pack, but Eliot still uses this. If you look at the name of the next card, Belladonna, the Lady of the Rocks, it's very similar to the name of the painting of Virgin Mary by Da Vinci, Madonna of Rocks. Now, Madonna of Rocks is the painting of Virgin Mary which symbolizes purity. Eliot brings a contrasting theme here. Belladonna, the Lady of the Rocks, is the symbol of poison, sexuality, and opportunism. The name Belladonna means beautiful lady in Italian. It's also the name of a poisonous flower. So this card is representing a lot of women whom we are going to meet in the poem later. The next card that she takes is the card with man with 3 staves. This symbolizes the Fisher King. And then the wheel which symbolizes fortune. And the next card is that of the Syrian traders, the one-eye merchant. Why is the merchant one-eyed? It's because, according to the poet, these merchants are deprived of their eye of religion. It was these traders who acted as carriers for religious beliefs. They told the stories, but they necessarily did not understand the significance of these stories themselves. And finally, she says she has a blank card, but the most important card, which is that of the hanged man, she says, I do not find the hanged man, which could be a symbol of Christ. The hanged man could also be the symbol of rebirth. So here through the cards, what we find is that Eliot is introducing a lot of characters of his poem through these cards. And after this, we are given a glimpse into her real profession. Earlier, fortune tellers were much respected people. But here it seems that she practices her trade in fear of the police. She says one must be so careful these days. Overall, this stanza not only introduces the characters, it also shows us the horror of life in modern city, how blind and aimless humanity is. Now that is going to be our theme for the next stanza. That is, already in the stanza we see this line, I see crowds of people walking round in a ring. This line alone shows loneliness and life without aim in a modern world. Now this point is going to be repeated in the next stanza. Before moving into the line by line analysis, I would like you to remember that there are 2 major references here. One is that of Dante from his Inferno and the other is Baudelaire's The 7 Old Men. Now the post-war state of mind is going to be even more clearer in this stanza. Even though the poem is on the modern world, Eliot is specifying London here. So Eliot's unreal city is London. Eliot's vision of London is similar to Baudelaire's vision of Paris, because in his Seven Old Men, Baudelaire says that he is horrified to see the state of the city. It's overused, unclean, and deprived of life. The same gloominess, pollution, post-war state of mind is going to be depicted in this stanza, but instead of Baudelaire's Paris, here we are seeing Eliot's vision of London. These lines do not give the readers a positive vibe. See the words like brown fog. Each man fixed his eyes before his feet. Sighs. All this show that people aren't anymore concerned about their daily course. They are all lacking a purpose or direction in life. The city is of course polluted because the fog is brown, which shows pollution. Now these lines are a very short introduction to what is going to come. Now Eliot says, these people with no aim in their life, they flowed up the hill and down King William Street towards St. Mary. So they were just going on and going on. They didn't have any aim. With a dead sound on the final stroke of 9. This sound of the bell, it seems like a knell. It seems like a death bell. And suddenly the narrator sees a person whom he knows and he calls out his name, Stetson. Now just as how Dante inquires to the crowd in Inferno, Eliot or the narrator is asking doubts, asking questions to this man, Stetson. Stetson is a character that represents the entire humanity. And the kind of conversation that these people had is very weird, because the narrator asks, that corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Now, what kind of a conversation is that? Now, this corpse could be the symbol of the primitive religious practice of burying the statue of gods. The primitive religions believed that with this practice they will have good harvest and also their god will have rebirth. So again, if you remember from the beginning of the poem, we have been talking about rebirth. Already we have seen that April is the month which is cruel to the people of Wasteland because they do not believe in rebirth. So the same theme is again repeated here. That corpse you planted, has it begun to sprout? Is there any chance of rebirth in this place? And the question continues. Or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? Now, the sudden frost is the symbol of religious skepticism. Now, unlike the earlier believers who firmly believed in their religion, the modern world, the people of the modern world are not that stern on their religious beliefs. So this person is asking, has anything destroyed those religious beliefs or religious practices? We also find that this person himself says to keep the dog far away. Even though the dog is friend to men, keep it far away. Now, dog is a reference to the dog star which is associated with the annual flooding of the river Nile in Egypt. Now, although people look forward to the flooding of Nile because it brings fertility to the banks, even though it is not something that is to be afraid of, the people of Wasteland are afraid of the dog because they are afraid of rebirth. Also, John Webster in his White Devil, through Cordelia's song, Cordelia says about a wolf. Eliot changed the wolf into a dog so that it could easily fit in the idea of a London street. That also could be applied here. And finally, before part 1 ends, the narrator says, "You hypocrite reader, my fellow being, my brother." Now the poet refers to the condemnation of all humanity. Now even though we were talking about London in particular, Eliot is referring to the whole humanity and he is making that clear through this line. And when he says the whole humanity, he includes us, the readers, and the poet himself.